My name is Ludiah Mong'are, and welcome to another episode of the Freelancer's Mic, where we have conversations with creatives. It's all about you getting the mic and becoming part of these creative conversations. Thank you so much for working with me and being part of this amazing family. If you're a returning listener, thank you for the support. If you're new here, we welcome you to the family. You can listen to the podcast on any podcast streaming platform. So today we got a true creative powerhouse, Conrad, joining us. He's not just an informational content consultant, but also an accomplished author and a podcaster. Conrad's expertise is like a store of knowledge, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. If you're looking to up your creative game. So Conrad, the mic is here. So please briefly tell us about yourself.
For inviting me here. So first of all, I'm from South Africa. So if you follow the rugby, we are now again the world champions. So I should be wearing
Wow,
my green cap.
congratulations.
So the whole South Africa is green. Everybody's been wearing their rugby kits since Friday, and it's just smiles everywhere. So that's where I'm from.
Yeah, feels so good.
So my story, I grew up basically with just a lot of church activities and so on. And in that journey, from a very young age, from about an age of 9 or so, I started working, recording the sermons still on cassette, on tape. And then at conferences, a lot of people would want to have access to these lectures or sermons or whatever the case might be. And then we had to duplicate them. And I got really, really fascinated with the technical side of things, but more so with the actual content. I don't want to go into my whole family history, but there's been quite a number of content creators in along the line, some public speakers and authors and so on. And I just realized that it's so important that if you have a message that you believe is important enough to share with people, it is important enough to capture and to preserve it and to share it with people around you. And that's something that's not going to change. It's as old as humanity itself. And that became really part of my journey, and always been interested in radio and broadcast, and to try and marry these worlds where you don't have to have just one, like we had in South Africa, just one national broadcast at the time. The idea of community radio and smaller radio stations, and I always watch these American TV shows where they have a little trailer in the backyard or someone in a basement with a pirate signal going out to the world, and a little radio station from your house. And I always thought something like this must be possible. There must be a way to capture what we have to say and share, and then share it with the world. And so in the day and age where we're living now, it's so attainable. That's what we do. We have TikTok, we have YouTube, and just about everyone can podcast, and we can share what we really feel is important. And I'm just passionate about inspiring people to do that.
Freelancers often seek to explore new niches, and I know the Christian niche is one of them. Maybe you can give us, or you can give someone advice, someone that is interested to get into this Christian niche and make their mark as a content creator, freelancer, virtual assistant. Maybe what advice can you offer that person?
Okay. Fantastic question. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Christian niche, and then I want to make it generic for everyone to try and find something, because I'm watching these guys on YouTube, and they'll say the riches is in the niches, and it's finding your niche and finding a very specific avenue. So a simple question I would like to ask you is, who are the people that you love? Who are the people that you would like to address? And what do you feel strongly about? So if it happens to be within a religious or within the Christian context, then it's very important that you find the people that you associate with, that you can talk to. Um, there are millions of groups and peoples that would not resonate with me. They will not feel comfortable listening to me. But if there's a 19-year-old somewhere with a different vernacular, with a different social economic outlook on the world, or a different subculture, or whatever the case might be, people will associate with you. And it's important to first of all find, who do I want to talk to? And a lot of people, and this is the first point I want to make, is a lot of people feel they need to be an authority in a specific field. So let's talk Christianity. So a lot of people will think, no, but I'm not the man of God. I'm not the big important prophet or something. But does it disqualify you? Because you are part of the community. You don't have to be the leader of that community. So the first point I want to make is, who do you love talking to? Who do you love? What's your group of people? And then the second question that goes hand in hand with that is, or the second point is, don't try and be the leader of that group. Be part of the conversation within that community, because you have something to contribute within that context. So a lot of people think, okay, when we go to Christianity in terms of podcast, I need to think a church type thing, and it's church services and sermons. It's not. It is addressing the community from your particular worldview. So this is liberating, because now all of a sudden you can be part. I can talk about parenting. I'm a father of 5. So I love parenting. I love talking about children. I love talking about family. So you'll hear a lot of that in my podcast when I talk. Some people, like this book that I wrote, is for a Christian ministry where a lot of people feel, okay, we don't know how to interface in this digital world. So that's a completely different niche already, but it's from my Christian worldview. And then take something that you're really passionate about and do research, because your passion will run out after a while. But do research, something that you're really interested in. And you know what? And then the last thing I want to say on this is, finding your niche is, there are these odd times where you are really not an expert, but you are really interested to ask the questions and to learn more. I'm not a finance guy. Finances is probably the most boring thing in my mind, thinking about money management and all these things. The irony is, as a broadcast professional, I've done close to 2,000 shows on financial literacy and financial radio shows, because I don't know anything, but I can ask the questions. And here I sit with the big boss from a big insurance company, and I'm asking him the questions, and I can bring the information to something that I can relate to, and that is appealing to the audience apparently, because they think, okay, this guy, make him answer us because we don't understand, just because I don't understand. So sometimes it's just that thing of, can you ask the questions? Can you bring something into your world that doesn't exist? So that would be more or less how I would say, go ahead and find your niche. You don't have to be the leader. You don't have to be the know-it-all.
Awesome, awesome. That's a brilliant response. And I've had a chance to interact with some freelancers, and most of the people that I come across with were getting into the freelance world. And when you mention about working with religious people, maybe working with pastors, working with someone who is outside the religion, people get scared. So, what's your take on this? Because when you're working, sometimes you find a client, he's a Muslim, he's a Hindu. So, what's your take on that?
You have to do honorable business. And I agree with you. You will get to a point where it is outside what you would normally go for, where you won't take your family to that particular institution on a weekend, but if it's a work situation, you do that. When you're working, especially with content and content creation, or in a technical field, contributing to a religious setting, there are a few things that I would like to bring in. First of all, okay, maybe I should tell you a story. The best example of working with technology and communication is something that I found in the Bible. You will not believe it, that years before electricity, there was the best example of technology. So let's quickly stop for a moment. What is technology? Technology means using your scientific knowledge to improve upon ordinary human actions or work. Okay, so I have a microphone, and to keep this thing up, I just put a stand on it. It's a use of technology. It's not just all the fancy things that's happening here in the digital process to get it to your ears. And the simple thing. So here's a story. The greatest teacher, in my view, Jesus, was walking the earth, and there were thousands of people swarming him. You can imagine, celebrity in town. Everybody just wants to hear him and hear what he's saying, and this great teacher. And history says that people were swarming him. And what happened was, he went to the shore, and he said, what happened was, he saw two little ships, two little boats, not ships, two little boats, fishing boats. And he got into one, and he called the owner, and he said, let's just row a little bit into the water. And he sat down, and he could preach. Now, the principle is, he used simple technology that was available from a local businessman. Okay, so that could be a guy who believes or not. Okay, he's getting into it. There's no more mention made of the owner of the boat. He simply rowed away, and he stopped. The teacher was able to sit down, so he was comfortable. Water is a natural a sound reinforcement. So if you've ever been out fishing at night, you can hear what the guys 2 miles away are talking, because it bounces. So he was sitting there. He's lower than the others, because we all know water goes down. So it was a natural amphitheater in the embankment of the landscape. Everybody could see him. The teacher was comfortable, number one. Everybody could see him. They could hear him, because there was this water reinforcing the sound. And it underpinned the message. It carried the message. And there's no eyes on the technology. So what I would like to say is, when you are working with someone in a religious setting, or any setting for that matter, you use the technology that you have, and you disappear. If you're a sound engineer and nobody comes to you after the show and says anything, you know you did a fantastic job, because they will only complain if something went wrong. If it was perfect, people won't notice. So, yeah, so same when you look at this video and you don't see anything distracting, you're not going to say, oh, it's a fantastic video. But the moment something is distracting you, you're going to say, oh, you've got too much headroom, you've got too little headroom, or whatever the case might be. People will complain. So you do your job and make sure that the technology is not a distraction. You disappear. You're not running the show. And you don't interfere with the process. The person communicating should be comfortable, more comfortable than without you. That person should be seen and should be heard, and the message should be able to reach more people. Then you know you've done your job. And that's a rule of thumb. One thing outside of this that comes from my experience, my little pet peeve in life, you are there whenever you work with any content creator or communicator. You are there to protect his headspace or her headspace at the time. So maybe I shouldn't tell you a story. Maybe I should. Okay, let's tell you a story. I worked on a TV show. So it's a pilot production that would go to the television stations, and they would decide whether they'll take it or not. We booked the venue. We had an audience coming in, equipment like you can't believe, and I brought in 2 subcontractors. And as we were setting up the one subcontractor, he was supposed to be just operating a camera, went to the guy who's going to do this, present the show, who's obviously nervous, he's got a live audience, there's a lot of things, and he started talking to him about conspiracy theories and asking me his opinion about certain things and debating him and taking him on certain religious things that because the guy is going to talk is a religious man, a leader. And it was so appropriate. The long and the short is that guy, the presenter, was so put off and distracted that he couldn't really deliver what he had to deliver. And we this is a worst case scenario. We lost all that money because that whole production was a waste of money and time. So that's the worst case. But you are there to make that person feel comfortable and at ease to deliver whatever they have to deliver, whether that person is part of your belief system or not. The moment you sign up, you've consented to be part of that process. There are certain religious things that I will not take part in, but that is the decision you make when you get the request to do the job. Once you've signed, you have to be professional, and you are there to improve the pathway of communication from the presenter to the audience.
Yeah, we have had a very heated debate on working with people outside your religion. So I know this is a broad topic, so it won't end right now. Okay, let's talk about research. What are some of the steps that you think a freelancer that is getting uh, that wants to gain a deep understanding of the Christian niche and identify the content opportunities that align with their skills and passions? What are some of the steps for them?
Oh, wow, that is a fantastic question to ask. First of all, you need to address what your perception is. Okay, so the moment you come to me and you say, all right, I have to work in, let's say, a Jewish setting, which has happened before, then I go through everything that I imagine I will be encountering. Because there's always a nagging thing in the back of your mind of what my perception is of a situation. So exhaust all of that. Go through all the reasons why do you think the way you're thinking. And then I would say go online and find different people in that, or different content creators, different programming or settings that you will be working in as a freelancer. And now you start researching, because we sometimes come in with this idea of what we have, and it is something that you often find with people that work cross-culturally, where I try and compensate. So if I'm trying to talk to you now, being in Kenya, and I try to fit into to be more Kenyan or more accepted to, I'm most probably going to cause an uncomfortability, you know? So the best I can do is I can have a world of respect for you, because I already like you and I love your channel, and I can just talk to you and be authentically me. But obviously, if you go to a Hindu temple and you have to film a ceremony or a wedding or something as a freelancer, you are most probably not going to wear a t-shirt that says Jesus is Lord. You know, you will immediately cause that kind of So I can be me and I can live out what I believe without trying to cause conflict and offense and whatever in that situation. Because remember, you signed to go there. If you're outside in the street, if you're in any other context, then you do what you do. But remember, when you sign to help out on a project, you try and find, I always say, not the us and them. You try and find the us together, and together you do this thing. It's like a golf grip. On a If you're doing this the whole time, your hands are slipping. But when you hold a golf club, you interlace, you interlock, and you have a we together, a us. And that's what you try and find immediately. Is you go for the us, not a us and them. It's us together, a we. We are stronger. So that's the first thing you need to do when you research, when you going to work in another setting that's culturally or religiously different to what you are. Is I've exhausted my perception of where I am. I've done a bit of research in what is available now, and then you find the us together. Okay, so first things that you, okay, then the next thing I would like to say is you research terminology. Okay. The way we speak, certain things, certain places will be a problem. Okay. Um, if I had a situation where we booked a sound guy, fantastic sound engineer. So whenever we had a church service, it wasn't a church building, so we would set up in a conference center or in a restaurant, and we had broadcast going out and all the rest of the stuff. And this guy will talk to the leaders and the people around him about the big guy upstairs, the big guy, and referring to God. Which amongst these friends would have been okay, I suppose, because but he, in the situation, his terminology and his vocabulary caused an offense and made it uncomfortable. So you research your vocabulary and just get a bit of an idea of what is culturally acceptable. But from there on, I think it's now you get technical. Now you look at what can I bring from my perspective, from my world that I'm living in, bringing it into this religious context where I'm going to be. And that, to be very honest, is one of the things that I specialize in, where I take a look at Christian content, the way I see it and have been seeing it on air and online for many years, and then looking at different formats. And now we're bringing that into it. So at an organization where I worked, we were literally the first podcast style. It looked like a radio station and mics and headphones and people around the table and joking and laughing and getting into it and long form content. We were the first Christian podcast doing that on YouTube years ago. But it took somebody to say, okay, it's not the way they do Christian television. Let us do it from something fresh that we brought from another context. I worked with a TV channel. Let's not. I'm going to get in trouble for telling some of these stories. Okay, I worked with a fantastic content creator. He created an online college, but he knew that this electronic video college of his will have to go online, but the people will not know where to find him and they won't relate. So he took what was available and he went to a Christian TV channel, one of these that you will definitely find in your nation. And he said to them, I want to put up a TV show that will bring people into the mindset of what I will be doing online with my Bible school, my Bible college. And they were so delighted with the idea, but the moment we started shooting, the producers would come in and say, it doesn't work. You don't sound authoritative enough. You don't sound like the man of God in front. You don't sound like the prophet. You don't sound. And we had to redo and redo. Eventually, we just went to YouTube and we found another way, because they couldn't reconcile the different worlds. So, and that's the thing that you need to understand is sometimes bringing in your perspective into another age group, cultural group, demographic, you will find yourself running into some problems, potentially. Be very diplomatic about it. Try and find out who the people are you're working with, and just be kind when you work and work well.
Previously, we had a conversation about working with someone that is not in your religion. I work with Christian pastors, so for me, it's not hard. I'm able to work with Christian pastors because I'm a Christian. So when we had that conversation in my virtual assistant group, some people couldn't find it easy to work with someone outside their religion. Yeah, that's why
Yeah,
I
so
realized this
your
is a good
the
place.
people, your religious leaders might have a bit of a problem sometimes, or try and convert you the whole time while you're working. But
Yes,
yeah, that's
and
now
that was
outside your
the big
control.
question. That was the big question. Like, okay, someone was editing a book for someone that is, and I don't know what the region was that, but they were arguing that what if I enter into that contract and as we work, I get converted and I don't want to get converted. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
the
no,
argument.
yeah, no, what you consent to beforehand is what's going to happen. So just be aware of it.
So I think should be my last question. You work with content creators and ministries. What is one of that moment that your guidance led into that content creator or a ministry having the haha moment? What was the outcome of that creative revelation? The moment they mentioned that we have had our haha moment, the moment we started working with you. How did you feel about it?
Um, you, for me, I'm living from a position where I want to have a significant life. I want to have an influence in people's lives where I can unlock the next generation to follow that thing that I believe is a God-given dream and purpose in their lives. I think at the end of the day, whoever you will work with and whatever you will do, um, try and build something that you can look back upon and say, okay, this has been my life. Um, and I know working as a freelancer, especially, you hop around from company to company, from job to job, and it's not it's not one company that you're building and you see the progress and it's standing for years, and therefore it is important for each one to, number one, have a show reel, something that I'm bad at doing. I always feel okay, but I'm busy with a job. Next one is coming. Keep track of what you've done. Build your CV. Have things. After a while, people will take stuff off YouTube and um, they'll remove the adverts that you've worked on, etc. So try and keep a portfolio of what you've done. Try and have those moments where it's not just what other people say, okay, this was this great achievement you've done. You need to be responsible for how you feel about your life at the end of the day. And I think that's been that's a very important motivator, because I've seen too many of my colleagues um, living for this moment where somebody taps them on the back and say, "Oh, you've done a fantastic job," and we can really highly recommend this person. But sometimes it doesn't happen, and you get to a point in your life where you feel depressed, where you feel, "But what have I achieved? What have I done? What is my life?" And therefore, you need to have certain goals. Why do you work? Why do you do things? Thing that is significant and brings significance into my life. Because yes, I've worked with I've been very privileged to advise certain ministries and large organizations, some great people that books been written about and they've passed away and their legacy remains, and it's, wow, I was in his office and I helped out and we did this. But at the end of the day, it's, you will be remembered by the people around you. And when you lay your head to rest, the question is the world around you a better place because of you? Is my immediate family better because of me? The people that came in contact with me, were their lives impacted and changed? So if nothing else comes from this today, but somebody can hear something that says, okay, I've gained something that will be a principle that will last me for years or maybe forever, you know what, then I've achieved more than 100,000 likes or clicks or restreams on this video.
And what's the name of your, what's the title of your latest book?
Okay. The book is not quite done yet. It is called Make It Rain. It's a guide on strategic content optimization. So in short, how do I take every piece of content that I have and use it and repurpose it and make it fit in the content that you're creating? So as I'm speaking to you, I've got a device recording what I'm saying, because I know this might be useful for something else. And then to find ways to really understand our audience. There are things that I've learned from over 30 years in the ministry to really understand people and to bring that into context with what do we learn from social media and web optimization and these things to reach more people. But instead of reaching just more people, how do I reach deeper in the understanding of my specific niche that I'm addressing? And that's the worlds I'm trying to marry. And then the interesting thing is you address a lot of people, which makes the book difficult to write, because you have senior leadership, you have ministry leadership on the ground, and you have technical people. And to build a bridge that these disciplines can understand each other and work together. So that's what I'm trying to achieve in this book. Should be released by early January. I wanted to do it before Christmas, but I'm not probably going to release it in January only. And really hope that we can get people talking and understanding each other a bit better when we do that.
So thank you so much for showing up. We will end this recording. You can find the recording, the episode on all platforms, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and all other channels. Thank you so much. Talk to you next time. Happy Super Thursday.